Grab your beverages and turn up your interweb. Solving the world's problems 12 ounces at a time. It's Dudes and Beer.
So yeah, there we go, everybody. Sorry about that.
Hey.
Had a little bit of a hiccup. Welcome, everybody, to Dudes and Beer. I am Chris Jordan, your host. This is episode 146. As I just said, I am in Dallas right now on work and being joined via the interwebs by Stephen and Julie over in the Dudes and Beer studio. How you guys been doing?
What's up, people?
Good, we miss you.
I know, man.
Been good,
I have
man.
been on the road like a madman, like a madman.
Sometimes.
Like I don't know if my kid even remembers what the hell I look like. Like he's probably going to be scared of me whenever I see him.
He's got a carrot in the refrigerator.
In a month. yeah. Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. With us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited about this. This is our first band of this kind of music per se, the jam band genre,
Band of 2018.
the improvisational genre, and also the first band of 2018. That's right, Julie. For us to have. The band is Lunar Eclectic out of Austin. Why don't you guys go ahead and go around the table? Let's start with you, Zach. Tell us your name and what you do in the band.
All right, I'm Zach Simon Alexander. I play guitar and I sing. That's about it.
Okay.
No, I'm just playing. We all get down. I do some writing.
I do some writing.
I'm leaving you on the hook, reeling in a little bit here, my friend.
Contributing on many levels.
Yeah.
All right.
I do some few shows.
You know, humble brag.
It's all right.
Nice.
And how about you? Next, go ahead.
My name is Dominic Turturelli, and I play the drums in the band.
Okay, fantastic. And how about you, Jesse?
My name is Jesse Moriarty, and oh man, where to start?
You sound like a bassist.
Yeah.
You nailed it, dude.
I mean, I did work with rock and roll for 20 years, so like the bassist, as a bassist myself, I can tell you, we're confused frequently. It's all good. We find it hard to express ourselves at times.
I could play any other instrument, but I like to. The bass teaches me patience.
Yes, it
and
does.
humility.
Yes, that's
We're all
right.
really good at all of our
Practice that,
instruments.
so that's good.
Yeah.
We're all multi-instrumentalists, but we stick to the ones that we're best at, and that's kind of the agreement that we find with.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
absolutely,
right.
absolutely.
I think I'm a better guitar player, but they just wanted me to play the drums. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, I can count really good. So I play this.
You know, it's interesting though because after 20 years of working with musicians, thousands of bands on stage, live and stuff, literally drummers play more instruments than other people that I know. And it's mainly because most of the instruments that like we use for rock and roll are percussion instruments, like even guitars, even pianos, like they're actually percussion instruments.
Yeah.
They have
Right on.
strings, sure, but they're in the percussion family.
A lot of things have strings.
There's barely.
That's an amazing compliment. I appreciate it.
There's barely any more room in
As you can tell, I don't
studio.
Oh, not a lot of love
Don't
there.
get a lot of
No.
love.
That's not
yourself.
discounting any
made a
talent on the other
fast
side of the
first.
room.
Yeah, no, sure. There's
Well, we're all on the same side of the room for this
Yeah.
camera
Yes.
situation.
That's
You
right.
made a new best friend.
The other side of the table.
Dom loves it.
Dom is glowing like his wedding day. It is special.
Ooh, like his
Oh,
wedding
I guess
day.
I'm still
Damn.
talking.
And this is via
No,
Skype. Imagine if I was in the studio.
He's not married. He is available as far as I know. You know,
Oh,
a
ladies.
sassy drummer with a lot of style. So just give him a call.
Attention, ladies. Drummer looking for woman must be able to lift 50 pounds. That's the
definitely
Craigslist
fun
ad right there.
we didn't plan that for this.
Yeah.
Qualifications, right? The qualification
You
department.
come meet him on
Right.
Thursday.
50 pounds.
So can you lift 50 pounds? You're
It's still
really
good.
nice, and I love the company, but I'm just curious for the longevity of things.
Those are heavy.
How's your back?
Tell our audience, guys, a little bit about Lunar Eclectic, how you guys met. I mean, quite obviously, y'all are as friendly as family, just like most jam bands that I worked with. It's nothing but family up there on stage. How did you guys meet, and how did the band come to be?
So, all right. Well, so I had moved down here from Connecticut, and I didn't really know anyone down in Austin, and I had a really good friend, Mason Adams, from the Dallas area. And I knew him through the jam band scene. We actually see a lot of Disco Biscuit shows together.
Nice.
And so Mason Adams from Dallas, if you don't know him, he's probably already your Facebook friend. Yeah. So he has this huge family party up in Dallas every year, and so he's got like he's from Texas, so he's got like 50,000 cousins.
Yeah.
He's got this huge, like,
The dynasty.
he's got this huge festival atmosphere, family reunion every year. And so he had, before that, he had put me and Dom in touch, and he said, hey, you guys both play music, you guys should get together. And Dom had just moved down here from Dallas, and so I started playing music with Dom, and so that was, if you want to speak to the,
That's pretty
continue from there.
Yeah. So thanks to Mason, that's how Jesse and I met. And then it was like kind of like work with different people, and different people are good friends of ours, and they were like, hey, I play with other people. We should, keep this going. And eventually the room was filled with, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 of us at some point. And you kind
Like
of
a 10 by 10 bedroom.
yeah, literally. I'm
Dedicated to the
12
craft,
by
what
11,
can you
man.
say?
All right. I don't
All
live in
right,
a slum.
sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm used to that. I'm used to that stuff. And then those nights turned into nights where it was different configurations of groups of artists that would come and hang out at the house. And, some stayed, some went. We kind of went in different, it was a different formation between those. And, then we met Zach, and Jack came just later after that. And slowly but surely we were kind of like, hey, I hate the kind of music you like. Hey, I hate the kind of music you like. Hey, I hate the kind of music you guys like. And literally that's what kind of created the formation of the band, was the fact that there's an influence from each one of us that none of us really enjoy.
Yeah.
So not like
the collaboration of hate.
I
Let's
I
write
feel it.
something that we don't hate collectively.
I hate to say it like that. That's not really what I mean when I say that. But basically, it's kind of funny because the music itself, the reason that the band was named the way it is, the group that was chosen the way it is literally because of our own particular interest and the collaboration of those in each of the songs, or all of the music, in essence. So you hear a little bit of what we all love and have worked towards, and we're extremely passionate about in each of the songs. It's just a combination of it, and that's what makes it. It's eclectic balance of music.
Yes.
Not one song. You're not gonna get one of us from each track you listen to. You're gonna get all of us, and it's interesting and it's different. And sometimes it can be really intense. Sometimes it can be really smooth and calming. But I think in general, the roster itself was picked. Particularly based out of our lack of interest in each other's aesthetic, I guess. And I'm just airing out the laundry now. All right.
We're an open book. We're an open album here.
It's funny. It's funny that you say that, because I've worked with many bands over the years, and it is one of those, like, when you're on stage, it's tough for it not to become a competition. It's tough to not want to one-up each other. And I see it all the time in the industry I work in live AV, doing corporate AV. Someone's always wanting to one-up somebody or do something better than somebody else. And, the phrase I've come to use as a crew lead is, okay, guys, and pardon me here, Julie, but I think you'll appreciate this as well.
Here we go.
So it's going to get dirty, folks.
Hey, I don't care about 30.
Here we go.
How about we all stop pissing for distance and start pissing for quantity, guys? All right. So, like let's all like collaboratively work together toward a common end here,
Right?
instead of like seeing who can pee farther. Let's try to do something together when we're doing something that we don't necessarily like even the creation of music, being like you said, being different people with different tastes. Whenever you're writing music and things like that, it can become very passionate in that space, and it can become very confrontational very rapidly.
Oh, yeah,
as far as like parts
We're some
and
passionate
movements.
people here.
Well, and especially it's one thing if it's just a chorus verse song, but if it's stuff like what you guys do, where it's taking a chorus verse song and interjecting other things inside of it, that sure, there's kind of a roadmap, there's like a general image of what you want to do, but that changes from night to night.
Yes, it does.
And it's different and it's hard. Like I knew a lot of engineers that didn't like working with jam bands. I loved it myself because I got to actually take part in that synergy, and that, like we were saying before the show, the speaking without talking. Like being it, like even through the crowd, I could absolutely like know where my band was going. And how do y'all find that dynamic? The fact that y'all do have such different musical backgrounds, such different musical tastes. Zach, how do you find that as a guitarist? Do you find that influences you to challenge them toward other things, to express things in a different way whenever you're playing?
For sure. It's a challenge to me, first of all, because I don't have much experience in my background playing guitar in bands. This is my first serious band, and these guys are excellent musicians. I mean, honestly, it's been, I don't tell them often enough, we give each other a lot of crap at practice and mess around, but no, it's good. To your point of kind of anticipating where people are going and trying to figure that out, it's nice to have some structure there, but we really push the boundaries of what we can do as a group. And to Dom's point, with all of our differences, we appreciate, like, you can look around the stage or you can look at each other in practice and see that when we're in our own worlds, when we're doing our own kind of music or infusing our own experiences into practice or into the show or into writing or whatever, you can see each person is just kind of taken away into their own world, their own aspect of it, but it's all cohesive. So even if we have some hiccups or speed bumps or we, fuck up, or we can curse on this, right?
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah,
All right,
totally.
cool.
Fuck yeah,
so
why not?
Fuck yeah. All right, so if we fuck up,
Fuck it, man. I guess so.
it's like, all right, we look around. Maybe you get snappy for a second. I don't know. Have you had your Snickers that day?
Right. What's up, Diva?
No, but my rambling point here is just that, like,
I'm a Kit Kat man.
my lady too. That's what's up. No, but with our diverse backgrounds and like the idea of challenging each other, it is a mutual exchange here. So even on our good days, bad days, we channel it back into the music, and we've seen proof of that coming through when we kind of put our egos aside, even in a battle to the death at practice, whatever. We've had some throwdown.
I think it's about
because it's
trust.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Like, what I was going to ask was, like, how critical are you guys of each other? Say, like, when you're creating your own part, like, are y'all very critical of each other, like, criticizing, like, no, it shouldn't be like that,
I think if you don't.
Go
for it,
critical, Dom. Go.
Like I said, what I was going to say is I think it's definitely a huge balance between the trust aspect of it and the tension aspect of it. So there are times where we don't agree on things, but not necessarily not that we don't agree on them. It's that we have differences and the tension kind of builds. But each one of us. So the thing about this band is everybody here writes music. All of us do. And I'm sorry to say that for Jack. Jack's not here at the moment, but all of us do.
Writer.
All four of us do.
Better be writing some music, Jack.
He is a badass writer, man.
He's literally doing that right now.
Yeah.
He could not make the show because he's writing.
Yeah.
That's not an excuse. That's a reason. I like it.
Again, so balance between tension and trust. So, it's the duality behind it is it's plain and simple. We all create concepts. We create ideas.
Yeah.
We come into the room and we say, hey, I have an idea on something. And the thing that is our hardest but most, I guess, rewarding thing that we can do is remember to trust in one another that, hey, I'm going to give you an idea. And I have an idea of how I want it to go, and this is my thing. Like I want this to be a certain way. When we presented as a band together, as a collective unit, in the back was like, yes, we like this. We're gonna provide our input. It might battle or contend with what you wanted, but in the end, as long as you trust us, or as long as I trust you, or you trust me, whatever, that in the end, the end result is even better than what was the intentional creation. So if I brought something and they said, and they were like, hey, what about this? And I don't really like that. I want it to go a particular way. Right. And we work until eventually we say, here's the finished product. This is what we brought you. And you're like, that's even better than the idea I had to begin with. Literally, that's how. Yeah, that's awesome. The conceptual aspect of this whole thing is really it's boiled down to. But shit.
It's healthy,
badass.
Healthy, constructive debate will temper an idea. So if I have an idea, you have an idea, and we have a healthy, constructive debate, by the end, we temper it, right? Coming from each side, by the end, the product is stronger.
And we know it better at that point. It just kind of becomes
I think,
in that moment.
I think having a situation that's uncomfortable and you kind of push each other and you have an argument, but you think about that more instead of just going, I like it, cool. And the back of my head, I don't really like it that much.
Wait a minute, dude. I can tell you really didn't like that.
Everything's fine. The room's on fire like that thing.
That's just it. Is it going to become a passive-aggressive situation on stage? Because, now the song's made, and that part that you really didn't like, you really didn't speak up about, and you didn't advise the change that you thought would be cool, and maybe they would have thought about it, but now you're stuck with what it is, and you're going to be playing it every night that you're friggin' playing music, and you just compromised something in order to not have the confrontation. And the confrontation is really where, at least I found, especially because whenever I engineered for bands, I was always at rehearsal. I brought my recording rig, and like everybody walked off with a USB thumb drive copy of rehearsal that night. So whenever we did jam band stuff, it was like those things that
stealing that idea, by the way.
Those things that just come across and you're like, dude, that was a sweet lick. Yeah, I have no idea what I did. Like, it happens so often
every day.
But you can go back and watch it like football footage. And I have a question for you, Jesse, as the bassist. Number one, what's it like to have such an evil last name, so synonymous?
It's fitting. Yeah, it's fitting.
Okay.
I'm pretty evil.
All right.
I do things that are not good.
It could also be Machiavelli.
Just all the time.
I mean, do you have a nemesis that you torture? Like Moriarty, like Dr. Moriarty?
So Dom's middle name is actually Holmes.
Oh.
It's
snap.
Holmes.
We've got a little thing here.
That's it.
JJ Holmes.
That's right. So, he's
it's a very Italian middle name, by the way.
Actually,
I got the house of secret.
So,
Jesse and I go to war.
Yeah, we do. We go to war.
We're rhythm section.
We go to war.
I think we beat each other up more than anybody on the planet.
That was the second part of my question. As a bassist myself, especially in improvisational music, things like that, your job is to kind of keep things moving and going, but keep that root at the same time where the drums, the guitar, the keyboards can do what they need to do and always be able to sound back to you. And it's tough to be that like root sometimes on stage, where you're in the midst of the jam yourself. What is that like for you as a bassist? I always love hearing what the stage experience is like for different bassists. 'Cause for me, it was one of those like I'm just a pocket bassist, man. You know, like if you listen to like the bassist from Tom Petty, that would be me. Just like smoothing in the pocket. I'm not a Phil Lesh. You know, I'm not a crazy singer or anything. But what is your technique, and how do you go about trying to be that root for the percussion and the lead to bounce off of?
Yeah, I mean, if you watch the shows, I mean, I do a lot of, I got to stay in the pocket. I got to stay on the root note. But at the same time, I like to lead the jams a little bit, whereas Zach and Jack, you know, you hear them do a lot of color and a lot of interesting psychedelic stuff over the music. But I like to try to lead the kind of underneath, try to bring it in a different direction. And we go into this like kind of, you know, in the jams anyway, we go into this kind of thematic jamming where we'll noodle around for a while. We'll be in like this psychedelic place, and then I'll take it.
Now, what does Jack play again?
Jack plays keyboards and guitar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Jesse's a pusher.
Yeah,
He's a pusher.
I'm a pusher.
If anybody wants, as much as he likes to,
I'm a pusher.
I'm your brother. I'm your daddy.
I love that song.
Jesse's a pusher. When there's music playing,
you know,
and the music doesn't want to, you know, it's going a certain way, he's the guy I look to when he says, "We're doing more. Keep going. Push."
Nice.
A lot of the times, things I do really well, and a lot of us do really well, is that part where it's like right in between, hey, are we about done? And hey, are we about to turn this place up? You know, I mean, are we going to blow the roof off, or are we going to end this song?
Right.
Jesse's the guy to look at because he's the pusher.
We
He's the
need
guy
the
saying,
stallion
"We're not
before
done.
we go on.
Watch
to
what's
it.
about to
Yeah,
happen."
I've got that in my band, you know, like that one guy, you know, like
There's somebody you look at.
Yeah.
And they're the guy who's like, "Don't quit. It's about to get ridiculous."
Yeah.
That's who I look towards. He's the pusher. There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Literally.
best moments. Yeah, so Dom just clowning me because this song.
This is a positive.
I have told this story. I've told this story a lot. So I wrote this song when I was 16 years old. And, I wrote did most of the instrumentation to this song, and that was 9 years ago at this point. And, so I wrote the instrumentation of the song, I wrote the words, and I brought it to these guys. So like when we got together, we all had these songs that we had all written kind of on our own. And like we were saying before, we all brought them to the table, and we all had this kind of debate and this tempering of the songs where we're like, all right, here's my idea. Have at it. And we all kind of crafted these songs together. So I wrote this song 9 years ago when I was 16 years old.
16.
And
yeah. He said 9 years ago when I was 16.
Yeah, how's that math working out for you?
That math doesn't add up at all. I just got to stop this. I feel like
19 years ago?
That's like Glenn Fry writing Take It Easy for the Eagles. He was 16 when he wrote that.
11 years ago.
I was 16. In 1971 when I was in the Eagles. I was probably.
This is making sense now.
I was 18 years old when I was in the Eagles. I was there. I was the understudy bass player in the Eagles.
Nice.
And
the background. Second string.
Not a lot of accolades, not a lot of glory. But
What happens now that they're coming back?
So you were telling me where you were writing music.
The fifth Beatle.
Yeah, I was the 19th Beatle. But no, I wrote this. I did it. I wrote this song when I was 16. I was in high school, and I brought it to these guys because I was like, you know what? Out of all the songs I've written over the entire course of my life, this one really fits the Lunar Eclectic sound. So I brought this to these guys, and they really. They really dressed it up. Tolerated is that's a stretch. They indulged me. So here we are.
That's important.
Made it Velvet Bride.
Yeah.
As you run toward the other shore, and arrows cracking, rainbows twisted.
Or see us at all.
No, we are here now. So
I wanted to go to the bathroom.
and just the first part of that in and of itself that was right there that y'all supplied. Number one, I love the fact that it is a live mix. How often do y'all record live sets?
We try to record every show. I mean, I would like to have an archive of every show.
That.
I would like to have
everything,
an archive of every show we play. Because, and this is the nerdiest thing, and, like, I'm not necessarily proud of this, but after every show we play, we go back and we listen to the show, like, twice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know what?
That's
like,
a good thing to
at a certain point.
Obsessive, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's the best way to do
it. It was always hard for me because that was something that I did for all the bands that I worked with was I provided recording. Like everybody, even whenever we worked festivals, I had like a 1 to 5 CD duplicator. So I would literally burn the set and we just sit there and duplicate CDs and go out and sell them for like $3. You know?
Yeah. Awesome.
Like, we get paid for our whole weekend at festivals, all kinds of stuff. You know, and it
Who needs
really
fucking
is that,
Sam
like,
Goody when you got Chris?
Yeah, it's
you pay for all your fishes.
It's the fact, you know, I mean, especially whenever you're that kind of band that
and vacations to the Caribbean you took, right?
Yeah, okay.
He goes,
More like my supplemental food stamps.
Oh, you mean SNAP benefits?
Be on the beach and be like, I sold some CDs.
Someday I'll be on the beach, Stephen, when I'm not working like 28 days in a month.
I know, right?
But
I'm just pulling you in.
I mean, the plus side about recording, and I love the fact that you, like you said, you try to record everything. With the kind of music y'all play, it's the fact that you catch gold. I tried to make it the rule of our band that we never listen to it the night of.
Yeah.
That was just my thing. And it was one of those like we'll probably pick ourselves, like every one of us, even me as the engineer, if I sat there in the studio afterward and had beers, you know, and listened to it, like I'd pick myself apart. So if I give myself till the morning, you know.
Oh yeah. I mean, you got to listen with fresh ears, you know, like totally.
Yeah.
You can't listen to night of.
Otherwise, I even myself as an engineer, I judged my recording too much.
Yeah, man.
You know,
well, that's human. I mean, get this. It's like if you like, we're often looking for stuff that's wrong with us or that's not good enough or whatever, just as people, right? And I'm a pretty spiritual guy. You guys know this, but and going down this road for a minute, it's like, when you play a show or if you record some music or if you write something down in a journal, whatever, lyrics, it's like proof of something that you may not like or you may not be okay with. Like it's physical or audio proof of your flaws. So if you're listening back right on the spot, I mean, when you're pissed off or when you're upset or when you're sad or whatever, you're happy, like your emotions are all over the place. Like that's just humanity. So if you sit there and you're analyzing, and I struggle with this because we're all pretty obsessive with music in the band. That's why we want to go back and study these things because we're all trying to get better at the end of the day. And that's what makes me animated in this band is like, I'm so invigorated by that because everybody's pushing. So anyway,
well, and I mean, for me, it's the fact of, I guess I was the basketball manager, you know what I mean? Like I videotaped basketball games, stuff like that, football games. Like any good coach goes back and watches footage. Like that's what you do on Monday.
Yep.
You know, like you sit and you watch footage, and then whenever football time happens at high school, it's like, okay, boys, here's what happened Saturday that we jacked up.
Yeah.
What can
We
we
didn't
do
play
to fix
good D, man. We didn't play good D.
And everybody having their notes and even doing the same thing. Do you guys record your rehearsals?
Yeah, we do.
Sometimes,
Actually, there's a bunch of snippets of our songs. There's a bunch of composed parts that came out of jams and practice.
Yeah, for
Nice.
sure.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll go back, we'll revisit those, and we'll say, you know what, this should actually stick.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's kind of the cool thing about starting from scratch. We don't play any cover songs, play all original songs.
Nice.
And that's kind of the interesting thing, how our songs have evolved, is that we'll take these pieces of improv from practices and say, you know what, this should stick around.
Well, then let's talk a little bit about that evolution there, Jesse. Like, what do you mean by evolved? Because, you know, some people think that you just write a song and that's the song. You know, whereas to go back to the reference of when you worked with the Eagles, there was a version until 1994. There was a version of Hotel California.
Yeah.
You know, like there was a vision of Hotel California, and who didn't love Hotel California? You know, but then in 1994 they all got back together again, and I know you were probably left out of the tour because I mean, you know,
politics, dude.
Hall of Fame shit, all that kind of stuff aside.
That was
popularity contest.
Yeah, it's all about the money. It's all about the money. It's all about the dollars. But then came like, you know, Hell Freezes Over.
Yeah,
and the acoustic like flamenco version of you know, of Hotel California. So
I like both.
Whenever you're talking about, I love both. I'm really, really, really a fan of the reworking of it. And I was the same way with Nobody's Fault But Mine. Whenever oh my God, it just left my head. It was off of it was off of No Quarter by Jimmy Page, Robert Plant.
That's the
They
Page
got
and
back
Plant.
together. And it was like this Middle Eastern version, you know, with like, you know, udus and doumbeks and stuff like that. It was so awesome.
I love that note.
How often is it that y'all take songs that y'all write and do them in a completely different way? Like not just add a new improvisational part, but like, oh, hey, let's do this with the country swing tonight, guys.
No, we do this constantly. And so, in fact, our show, we have a show Thursday night, Carousel Lounge, Austin, Texas.
Way to plug it. I love it. You're shameless.
Yeah, that's right. My new
That's how I know
Lunar
you'll be a
Eclectic at
success.
the Carousel Lounge Thursday from 7 to midnight. It is coming out on Thursday from 7 to midnight. And but
21 and up? What's the age?
I don't know, Julie.
Yeah, 21 and up.
21 plus, $5 at the door. That's very cheap.
That is
10 if you want a poster, right?
Yeah.
10 if you want a poster.
Oh,
Those
dude.
are like the first art merch.
Yeah, it's first merch.
Hey, Steven, give him $10. I'll pay you back. I want a signed poster.
Yeah, your credit is good here. I'm on behalf of Steven.
No, I just want Steven to give you $10.
Show up. He's just
Oh shit, he got me again.
Show, we'll sign it when we got the poster.
Yeah.
dude. So even this Thursday, like every single show we played, we've done a different version of a song. So this show, we have a song that is it's basically traditionally it's been a reggae song.
All right.
It's just a reggae alternative rock reggae vibe song, and we're gonna do some real different shit with it this weekend that just came out of a jam.
Now, who wrote the lyrics for it?
The last Zach wrote the lyrics for that
Yeah,
song.
nice.
Yeah, I wrote the music. Zach wrote the lyrics.
Wow.
Siege Engines.
Yeah, Siege Engines it's called, and he
That's badass.
so it has been a rock reggae, like alternative rock reggae song. And this weekend, this Thursday, you're going to see something very, very different with that song, and on the front and the back of that song. So it's something that's it just keeps things fresh. If you know the songs inside and out, that's when you can start to play with them.
Yeah,
and that makes it really fun. And Dom, if you want to speak to that.
Dom. Oh, I had this thing. I had a question. I was like,
why'd you get so distracted?
What?
That was a lot of
So the evolution. You mentioned something about a lot of people have been doing this for a long time. They slowly start to see evolution in their sound and things like that. And then you look at a group of guys who've been doing this for a year, and you're like, evolution sound. Like, you've been together for a year. What the hell are you talking about? Not saying that you feel necessarily towards us, but you can see in condescending on each other.
The hell are you sipping on over there?
Yeah, you've been. Is that a pure leaf tea? I nailed it. Look at that.
Amazon Prime Now, my friends. It's a beautiful thing. Amazon Prime Now brought me this, my Pringles, and my headphones yesterday while I was at work.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, Amazon Prime Now. Give me some money.
Right?
Go ahead. I'm very sorry. Continue, Don.
That's totally fine.
I think I interrupted you.
I think I'm the one to cut the pure. Like,
That was a collective. Societal interjection.
Collective segue.
What I meant to say was it's funny to listen to a group of guys who've been playing music for a year say evolution of sound. It's kind of like, okay, why don't you elaborate on that?
I see what you're
saying.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, what you're saying is, kind of silly that you think that, oh, you have an evolution. You've been doing this for a year.
Right.
Like,
I'm not
you
kidding
can't
around.
make up your mind?
I've been doing this for over 20 years, and a lot of us have been playing music for a very long time. Many different bands, many different lifestyles, all popular, not popular.
Yeah, you guys are
Right.
And you say, oh yeah, it's a bold statement to make, and the even funnier thing about that statement is the fact that literally it is. Our style, our ability, our stage presence, the sound of our music, every single thing we do when we step up on a stage or when we walk into a practice room is literally an evolution of our sound, of our style, who we are as people and who we are as musicians. And it's really
How
funny
you define
because
yourselves.
we don't walk into a room and we practice our songs. We don't do that.
No.
I mean, hardly ever do we. Really what we're doing is cultivating the sound inside them. So we have the songs that we want. We've appreciated them. We've critiqued them. We've been, tooth and nail, face to face, toe to toe about how things are going to go. And then we've said, okay, hey, we've solidified this. We've glued this together. But in between that point, every show we do, we say let's try an aspect like this. Let's move things to a different direction. Let's see. Maybe we'll push it a bit harder tonight. Maybe we'll go with, our last one was like, it was Egyptic. That's what the idea was. We're like, let's make it Egyptian sounding. Let's start to show up with this concept, this idea. So each show you get is literally an evolution of not only our sound, but our ideas, but things with it. We spend maybe a couple hours practicing and saying, hey, this is really neat. Let's push it this direction.
Yeah.
We've grown as musicians, and each one of us, every single person in this band I've watched, in that time span of maybe a year, maybe firmly a year together, watch that grow tremendously.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing, and there's the concept of 10,000 hours. Are y'all familiar with the concept of 10,000 hours to be a professional? It's basically doing something 40 hours a week for 5 years. All right? So...
we have little verses that we drink.
if you guys have been literally getting together and most jam bands I know, most bands that do the music that I've heard from y'all that I know typically don't get together for like 3 hours on a Wednesday. It's not like let's just get together one day a week. It's normally a few days a week for like 5 hours. And it's like long extended sessions where you can really explore stuff and get into things. How long do you guys normally get together to craft this sound, to craft this music?
I would say typically it's 2 practices a week for 3 hours to 4 hours at a time.
Yeah.
But there are hiatuses. I think most But I think a lot of musicians can agree with this. So, you know, if you do a lot of this practice and you play a show, and then after the show, kind of fall off for about a month. You're like, hey, man, that was really tight, but I don't want to see your face for a month. But you're not. It's a joke, obviously, but you don't really typically you take a couple weeks off because usually the grind is right in that last week or two period. But typically, I mean, when things slowly start to fall back together in our regime, the things that we do is typically about 2 practices a week, 3 total hours in the room. So 6 hours a week, you're looking at about
at least
300 hours a year.
Yeah, it was interesting. We
That was some good math.
Yeah.
That's what I'm about.
Dom
He's a drummer.
Somebody's watching Rick and Morty.
I literally
He had to multiply by 4. That wasn't too hard.
I love Rick and Morty. I'm an engineer at the engineer things. I like math.
That's live
I love math. So listen, we December, like this December is a perfect example of that because we every single one of us in the band was traveling for 2 weeks at a time in December.
Whoa.
So
we're so eclectic.
We didn't play. No, I mean, Zach was in South Africa. Dom was in.
What a place to go! That's
Tom now. Tom was in Tampa. I was in New England.
Tommy was my favorite Power Ranger, by the way.
That's an emblem.
Jack was in Colorado. So like we all went our separate ways in December, and then we got back together in January for one practice before our last show.
It was sort of one practice.
That's
flattering.
No, we went to one practice, and we all were like pissed off. And like we got into this practice, we were just like,
everybody was exhausted,
and I'm exhausted, and whatever. And like we had actually the most like glorious practice, and then the show we played was probably the best show to date. That was our last show. So this Thursday is probably going to be if math.
No one slept. So.
My math is not failing.
Well, I think what happened is that we set a theme.
Yeah,
the practice wasn't. I come out and say the practice probably wasn't the best. Yeah, exactly. The rawest moment in time. It was a long one. It was
Ask
good.
Dom if the sun is warm, and he'll tell you it could be warmer.
It could. But the theme is really what we worked on. So we studied it. We were like, hey guys, how do you want to make the theme of this set? So we can play 8, 9, 10 songs. But how do you want the theme to be in and out as you phase in and out of the song?
Explain that to our audience, the theme of a set, because not everybody understands the intricacies of how a set of music is constructed by a band. You know, a lot of people think about it kind of like a jukebox, you know, where it's like, hey, a bunch of people went in and put up money, you know, like maybe we're going to hear some P. Diddy, and after that we'll hear some Eagles, you know, featuring Jesse.
That's kind of a
You might
okay.
I'm not letting that one go.
Jack's also a DJ and he writes country, so you can get a little bit of everything.
Can I proffer the stage name? Can I proffer the stage name The Eagle for Jesse?
By the way, the Eagles. Speaking of the Eagles,
the Patriots are going to win, and you're going to.
I'm really glad that we had this podcast before Julie hates me because my Eagles beat her Patriots in the Super Bowl.
Going to have another sad day.
Nick Foles is going to destroy Tom.
Wait.
All right, guys, football's cool, but all right. Sorry.
Yeah.
We'll flip a coin.
Go Birds.
Like they do at the beginning all the time, right? Flip a coin.
So,
how do you go about crafting a set? How do you go about deciding, like, this is where the journey begins for the audience, this is where we're taking them, and this is where we want them to end up?
It's pretty simple. You get 4 guys in a room who hate everything that they love about each other's music, and then that's easily where it becomes a start. So you say, okay, look, so all right, let's come to a compromise. Let's make things weird, different, and unusual. Let's look at where we're playing. Let's think about things in that essence. So the Carousel, very circus themed bar,
right?
That's something interesting. I'm not going to throw any other additional hints towards that direction, but as a group of guys together, we say, okay, let's highlight things that we like about each other. What do you like? What do you like? And you tell yourself, well, hey, why don't we do this? And then you practice something. And you go, that was pretty badass. wait, why don't we keep with that similar theme? Why don't we roll with that? And so each individual part between the set and throughout the set is I play a song, and out of the song we exit out of it, and somebody takes a solo and we run with it and say, hey, we want to keep it that way. As long as the driving theme from the beginning is still somewhat involved.
Yeah.
The four of us have a chemistry in essence. It's unique because, like I said, it's four guys who like something individually, and the other four are kind of like, the remainder of us are kind of like, we're wish-wash about. So
now
we.
Composition-wise, would you consider that more like composing to a fugue, or would you consider it more, like writing a hook? Where it's a repetitive hook that happens throughout the show in between songs, and then you come back into stuff? Or is it like the classical fugue where it's like a theme, kind of like in The Wall, where there's like notes that carry out throughout things?
Well, it's kind of like the song takes you out of it. So you end a song, and the song has each of these individual songs kind of, I think you guys will agree with me on this, but like when the songs end, the song had a theme from the beginning, the song had the way it ended, and then from that point it kind of walks, and somebody's going to walk with it. Either it's Jesse, either it's Zach, either it's myself. Somebody's going to say the song's over, but I'm going to take a small piece of the finish of that song, and I'm going to kind of walk with it. I think I got this, guys. And then the rest of us are going to go, oh, I see what you're doing. I'm going to let you walk a minute. I like keep going. You go a little further, and I'll stand behind you, and then we'll follow you to that. So I think the songs create some kind of theme at the end of them, depending on how the reaction is from the people that are watching the show, from how we felt about it. Regardless, and then we say, okay, all right, he's doing something. Okay, let's give him a minute. Go ahead.
So the way we do it. So the set list I wrote, and this is not the final set list, but the set list I wrote for this show, we don't stop for about 2 hours.
Wow, I mean, you guys do have a long chunk.
Every song segues into the next song.
I like that.
It's just a
I hate stopping.
Yeah, stopping's for losers and nerds.
We stop too, so we are those things.
It just the whole thing segues.
All of 2 years ago, I did an entire episode of my Talking Sound podcast called "Silence is Death."
Yeah.
And while I did the episode, like I literally in a picture-in-picture window had a band setting up that was supposed to be their set time.
Yeah.
And this ran for like my entire episode.
Wow, that's very.
It's like, it should not take a 3-person band 30 minutes to set up. That's
it doesn't even have to be silence, right? It could be like that person going to the mic and they're like, you're not playing anything, and you're like, this is our next song off of our first album. Somebody chatting is one thing, because hey, maybe you have to retune. A lot of people, a lot of bands play songs in different tunings, things like that. So they got to retune or switch guitars, that kind of stuff.
Or depending
Maybe
on
you
the
got to
genre
change
of
a
the
string.
storyteller too.
But it's a totally different talent and skill level to do, like the evil Mr. Moriarty was just saying, and
Jupiter
literally,
planetary name.
You get tuned up on Jupiter motion to the other guy. You turn your volume down. You got a snark or something. And you're good.
To be able to take the audience on a journey for 2 hours. Is a different level, and it's a different mindset. It's a different concept in playing than what most people are used to. Most people are like, "Hey, we're going to take a pause for the cause real quick. We'll be right back."
Yeah.
Whereas playing for 2 hours, that's the difference between a sprint and an endurance run.
Yeah, there's a difference. Like, if we're going to see two of my favorite bands, right? Ween and Disco Biscuits, right?
Yeah.
So Queen will play for 3.5 hours.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they'll play like 40 fucking songs.
Right.
Sure.
And the Disco Biscuits will play for 3.5 hours. And they'll play 4 songs.
Yeah.
And both are great.
Yeah.
Both work for me.
Yeah.
But if they don't stop, it's just this nonstop, just abrasive assault
Yeah.
on your brain.
And, well,
That's great.
and sometimes it's cuddly, but like abrasive and cuddly can go together too. You know, it's like so you shouldn't always feel good and you shouldn't always feel shitty, but you should most of the time feel a little bit of both. Makes you a compassionate human being. You might slow down and get off your phone, and if the music continues, you can go to the bathroom in the middle of the song. You don't have to feel guilty. If you come back when a song's already started, or you know when people are stopping and going, and not to knock it because I write like country music too. It's like whatever. Those don't really segue so
Right.
much. Right?
But I was like, people are doing
Long story short, to the point, it's just like, look, if people can get together and hang out in the same place through a little bit of discomfort for like, forget the time for a minute, but let's say for 2 hours, whatever, for an hour, for 3 hours, for 2 hours, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If people can get in the same place and hang out and talk without feeling rude and be quiet without feeling needed or without feeling like having demands on them from society, if we're just like playing music and doing our best to create with each other on stage to some structured stuff, some lyrics, a lot of instrumentation, hopefully incorporating the crowd into being a segue at some point, right? Like holding it down while we tune up and joining them back for the next song. Like there are all sorts of things we can do to kind of create community through music, whether it's in a live show or in our practices or whatever we're doing. So it's just nice to branch out from just writing songs because we all do that on our own. So we're stretching what we can do as individuals together.
Well, and it's the fact of as the Dead put it so poignantly many years ago, the music never stopped. It just it always went. It was always going. There was always somebody playing something on stage while somebody was changing an instrument or changing spots on instruments. Explain that a little bit to our audience, because you are multi-instrumentalists. You do change instruments during the show. What is that like to learn different parts on different things?
Well, we've only done that a couple times. Yeah.
Really, right now with how we're set up, Jack's actually the only one who's popping back and forth between keys and guitar.
Our last show, however, was one where we had to jump around.
This is the thing is like last show we were playing a birthday show and there were a bunch of good bands there and we wanted to like meet and collaborate, and part of it, this was up at Deep Ellum Art Company in Dallas, which if you haven't heard of it or seen it,
it's
go
a great
check
place.
it out. Like,
it's a great place.
there is no shame in that plug because they're badass up there, and they're also just the kindest people you could find. Like they love art and music and community, and they're providing a space to be together to do those things. So
Best venue ever.
So Dom hopped up on percussion, you know, and other people's
everybody
sets.
was
It was
just
great.
It was awesome.
We had extra guitarists up on stage. But yeah, to your question, we do plan to switch it up a little bit, but like Dom was saying, we're doing something different for all of us here, where it's like we're coming together to really kind of communicate in each other's zones, like bass, guitar, drums, keys, all that, but not really step into each other's zones so much. So it's this interesting way where we're like in a big bubble together within our own bubbles, because we're creating this universe together, like while we're practicing, while we're on stage, whatever. And it's you know, sometimes it's not what we're looking for. Sometimes it's the best stuff we've ever played, and it's sort of unknown. So.
It's a delicate dance without stepping on each other's toes.
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the only way I've ever been able to explain improvisational music, jam bands, however you want to put it. People like Medeski, Martin, and Wood, you know, just stuff like that, where it's like, it's sick, where it's just absolutely insane talent married with this experimental improvisational aspect. And as we get ready for the next clip, Hart, tell our audience a little bit about what went into the creation of that piece, what it's about, and what we're going to hear with the especially with the first clip, which is the verse chorus part.
All right.
What's that all about? What went into the creation of it?
And is
Things like
that just remind me, because I don't have the clips in front of me, but that's the second verse, second chorus, I think.
Yes.
It's right before the
Yeah.
tune.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Hart was just, you mentioned earlier. This is badass, by the way. Is that just
They're
here?
really
This is
good.
cool.
Welcome
Yeah,
to our
that's
neighbors,
what's up.
guys. Like our
Yeah,
neighbors.
we have
are
rock
shit.
neighbors,
Guys,
dude.
we like.
Yeah.
No,
We have some quality neighbors next door that play some good music.
I could be wrong.
It's these guys. They were
Yeah,
there.
they're
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
No, whatever it is, I like it. I thought it was going
And
the hotel. I got it on.
I'll let y'all know who the formal guys are.
Even though it's via my ghostly internet presence, welcome to the studio, gentlemen.
They haven't been on the show.
No, I dig it, man.
We're only promoting our band. All of those other guys. No,
What about
they're good on the road. We're here for us.
Hold on, I'm going to go on a journey to the fridge. I'll be right back. Go ahead, Zach. Tell me what's going on.
All right, sorry. This is a lot of fun. It's very distracting. Thank you guys for so Hart was, like Chris was mentioning before, like almost every instrument being percussive by nature. Like before we really had constructed instruments in a more complex sense, people were probably tapping on some shit, right? Their legs. I mean, I tap on my legs. I tap on my legs and I'm happy. Like whatever. I tend to do that. But
I'm hitting a kick drum with my foot right now.
Yeah, with these guys.
Hell yeah.
I'm into it.
Kickstart your heart.
There you go. And basically, I was playing acoustic on the only acoustic I've ever had, and I was just noodling around playing, just kind of closed my eyes and was chilling outside and started in this repetition, this cycle, that kind of was just moving on its own, almost in like thirds, but it wasn't like in any timing. Dom's the timing wizard. He helps me calculate all these things, the numbers
My
guy.
time's always left on.
But so I got into it. It really compelled me. So I kept the riff and I kind of kept the vibe to it and kept the feeling. And then when we all got together and I started playing with them, it was a simple enough thing that I could show, 6, 7 people in a room and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. This is kind of where it goes. I don't really have full words to it, but I have a concept. So just run with this idea. And everybody could do that. And of course, as you'll see, survival of the fittest, Dom and Jesse, we all came out the other end and are playing in a band together because we were really dedicated.
Right.
Anyway.
Number one thing there, right?
Yeah.
Dedication.
Just putting in the time and really, really trust, like Dom said, trust in each other. But
Just the idea that
you can have that. You can have that one dude that's like the best musician, but if he doesn't have the dedication, I think it's like, hey, that dude, but this dude's still here, and he figures the shit out, and it's like, hey, sorry.
Yeah, the diligence is very important.
Well,
I think that it's like if you don't have the amount of drive that the rest of us have, which I think has all reached itself on its own equilibrium. I think all of us have a very similar drive to create the same product. And we've dealt with people who are more serious, we've dealt with people who are less serious, and that's kind of a thing. And where does it balance out? Really, that's the only thing that matters the most. Is that the four of us, regardless of what any kind of tension that we ever do have, or any problems as human beings that we'll ever have with other people, is that the music itself speaks for itself. The amount of time itself speaks for itself. The dream, the idea speaks for itself. Absolutely. And that's what's most important. And I think you can get people serious, they're kind of, they're in, they're out, they're wish, they're wash. The four of us always maintained a very solid element of continuously being, committed to this idea, this concept.
Like I said at the beginning. Go ahead, Julie. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
With the podcast, you guys have been in it since the beginning and have the same sort of level of.
Steve-O's been there. Steve-O has been there since episode 2. Lions and strippers and beers, oh my. I will never ever forget that episode name. Lions and strippers and beer. It was one of the first deep episodes of Dudes and Beer where we were talking about the killing of Cecil the Lion. When Steve-O went into a stripper story. And after the show, I was like, Steve, I love you. And we've had cigarettes and we've had drinks outside. And I love having you on my show. But good God, you got to bring more of those stripper stories, bro.
God, I just
you got to bring some more crazy to my show for me.
I know what we're talking about when this interview's over.
Oh, Steve-O's got some stories, guys. I'm here to tell you.
Okay, don't worry.
Tom's getting the house sound.
Don't leave without Steve-O giving y'all one stripper story, okay?
You saw the lion story ruined dentists for me. Like, I can't even go to a dentist anywhere.
I have my first appointment in like a decade, and it only happened. Yeah.
Can I say something about the song?
What a nerd.
Go ahead.
Because I feel gotten just a hair off track.
Yeah, sorry. I tend to get involved in
there's something I want to say. I like this song a lot.
Well, poor dentist.
Nobody is a bigger advocate for Zach's songwriting abilities than I am. If you want to come and meet me somewhere on the street and say that differently, I'd be happy to. Yeah, absolutely. Nobody's a bigger fan of Zach's songwriting music than I am, and I'll tell him right now that the coolest thing I like a lot about this song. So one of my favorite bands is Pink Floyd, and one of my favorite guitar players is David Gilmour, and I think Hart has a very big, influential.
I love those guys.
Who doesn't? Jesse doesn't. What? Everybody.
Hold on.
I'm just
erroneous call out. Okay. But that's okay. That's shown card. We're printing a card for that.
The reason I like the song the most is because it has a very David Gilmour vibe.
Okay.
And outside the Pink Floyd record itself, you listen to David Gilmour's music outside of that solo career, a lot of this music, that song goes a lot around that. And that's where I get the personal influence from.
Well, and let's take a listen to that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that with verse, chorus, and then we'll go into the instrumental part afterward. Once again, this is Hart by the band Lunar Eclectic out of Austin, Texas.
Something I felt I was in your way. But every time you smile, you got two faces. One of them's begging me to stay, the other one pushes me away. Oh, you build me up just to break me down. You stole my heart, but you could never have it all. Bless your heart, bless your weary, wicked soul.
And there we are with the verse and chorus from Hart by Lunar Eclectic. And I got to say, it does definitely have some of that early Gilmour style, some of that early Gilmour sound as far as the guitar work goes, things like that. I myself am a Gilmour freak. If you ever get a chance, go out and check out Gilmourish.com.
Yeah, man.
Gilmourish.com is where you can go to find everything David Gilmour. Like you can go and see his effects rig from like different tours, all kinds of stuff. It's crazy sauce. It's actually run by like the best friend of David Gilmour's guitar tech, who is the only full-time employee of Pink Floyd other than the musicians of Pink Floyd.
Fucking radical, right?
Yeah. It's some wild nerd stuff, but I mean, like literally, it'll show you like signal patches for like, you know, different songs he played, stuff like that. Now, what went into the sound, the palette of sound there in the verse and chorus of this song, and where are we going to go when we hear the instrumental part?
Well, that is up to you as a listener. The instrumental goes where it goes, but everybody might take a little different story away from it. There's a lot of texture and a lot of touches in there.
Yeah, Zach brought that song to us. It was an acoustic. It was like a acoustic rock song.
Yeah.
Like Zach brought that to us. It was just him and a guitar and the vocals.
And percussive, but not where we're at.
Yeah, it was rhythmic, but it was very, very full. Okay. You know what I mean? And we took that song and we brought it. There's a wonderful band playing over there.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, so
I'll watch them next week. Not on Thursday from 7 to midnight at the Carousel Lounge. We won't watch them then because Lunar Eclectic is playing.
Yeah, nice. Shameless plug. First one.
But no, Zach brought this to us. It was an acoustic rock song, and we all took it and made it this glorious David fucking Gilmour electronica.
We just said it's not big enough. Like, if it's on acoustic, cool. It does its thing. It feels, for me, I might never play it again on acoustic, but it felt right on acoustic. But when we played it together, it was like, we can't keep up with that percussiveness. Like, Dom gets his chops going. He's one of the most creative drummers I've seen.
Nice.
Jesse can speak to that. But, yeah, dude, he's a fucking wizard. So we couldn't keep up with where the song wanted to go by trying to play it the way it was. So that was one of those moments where it's like, look, that meant something to me. It kind of came about in the lyrics and the song, and even the percussiveness came about out of whatever emotional shit from my background.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to be in that atmosphere or hold on to that anymore anyway. That's just like a story. That's like part of my experience. And now I'm with these guys, and they have stories and things to say and experiences to share. So
my favorite part about it is that Zach writes the music and I listen to the lyrics and then I listen to the music and I'm like, I feel that more than you do. And I look at him like,
nice.
Why you? It's like he tells my story with his music, and obviously there's you can't take away from the fact that these are his experiences, his life, his music, the way he writes it, and it's fantastic. But in the back, man, I'm going, this for me.
Sounds like it was kind of
with his
that's my song.
That's a high compliment, man. Because that's the thing is I'm trying to share my experience, but for anybody to have some wisdom to take in their path, we can all be judgmental or compare ourselves to everything else going on around us, and I tend to do that a lot. We're all pretty obsessive with what we do. We're dedicated, and it's hard not to fall on the other side of that line. So to hear that, I appreciate that, brother.
When it hits home, it's hard not to fall on the judgmental side of things. Whenever you're giving creative feedback, it's hard not to fall on the harsh side of things whenever you're talking to brothers that you love and care for. Like when it does hit that depth, it's one of those it's kind of a come to Jesus moment, and it's like, hey man, I don't want to tell you this, but I got to tell you this right now about what just happened. And it's hard when you're creating music because, like we said, it involves a lot of passion from all aspects, not just the psyche from writing, but the synergy of the band with writing music. Writing the parts and things like that, and writing the collaborative part as opposed to just the lyric or the melody that begat the song. And moving into the jam section here, we have an instrumental section that's about a minute long of Hart. What is it in the song Hart that brings you to the point because I've worked with jam bands. Some songs are like jammy jam. Some songs are like, hey, it's still like 4.5 minutes, but there's a cool jam inside of it. So explain the difference to people with the song Hart to begin with like that, and how it goes from verse chorus into this awesome instrumental section that we're going to get to hear.
So we have this, there's there's kind of two kinds of songs we have, and this is going way back, old school jam band mentality here. So Hart is a type 2 jam.
Okay.
So type
Explain
1.
that to our audience.
Let's talk to the audience about type 1 and type 2. Type 1, you stay within the constraints of the song, and you stay in the chord structure, and you're playing the chords, and Zach is soloing. He's doing a guitar solo over the chords. And type 2, you end the song on the fucking E minor like we do at Hart, and then you just go wherever the fuck E minor takes you. And like you're in E minor and you make it work. And who knows? And sometimes the best part about type 2 jams is that they fail so often.
Oh yeah.
Like so many bands just blow it, and we blow it sometimes. So many bands just fucking blow it on type 2 songs, and you're just like, oh well, this didn't work out this time, but last time it worked out really fucking well. Yeah. And you that's the coolest thing about improvisational music.
Well,
there was a Grateful Dead album called Without a Net.
Yes, my God, that is one of my favorite albums of all time.
And it's a great album.
Feeling Like a Stranger off that album is one of the best versions ever. Yeah.
The name of the album, Without a Net. Have so many fucking Dead shows you've listened to are so bad. So bad. They just blew it.
I'm going to step in here and just say, I want to elaborate on just this point, just a hair. Basically.
Yeah, right. Go ahead.
So you're listening to a song, you hear a song, you hear a theme to a song, you've been listening to it, and then all of a sudden, boom, it slowly becomes a completely different change in things you listen to. I feel like what you were saying about, all right, so the jam, the music itself goes from this well-written, composed song, and then out of nowhere, it kind of hits. Am I mistaken on that? Is that how you is that what your question was?
That's how
the part on your question was basically the song was going a certain way, and then out of nowhere things just kind of bam, in my face.
Yeah.
All right. So my elaboration on that.
Some songs, go there organically. Some songs, you're doing that to poignantly place the change to the next song.
Well, for us, that's it. That's the style. So when we talked about earlier, when I said you got a group of 4 guys in a room who are all really passionate about different types of music, and none of us really, not necessarily. It's not that we don't enjoy them. It's not necessarily our preference. You got a group of guys in a room who all like different types of music that contradict one or the other.
We're like a loose Venn diagram.
I'd like to revisit that. I'd like to revisit that. If you can indulge me for just a second, Dom, I'd like to revisit that idea, and let's get a concept, because we never really got a concept. We understood the fact that you guys have different tastes in music and you don't agree, yet still you form a bridge to get from one style to another. Let's start over here with Zach, then go to Dom, then over to Jesse. Favorite genre of music.
Well, oh shit! All right, you asked me a question.
Or favorite band. Let's just go favorite band. Is that easier?
No, yeah. All right. All right. So I'm not gonna say favorite or top or anything, because that's I have those.
Okay. The one band that you would have to, if you had to listen to one band every day for the rest of your life.
Oh, yeah.
Desert Island Band.
Let's go around the table there.
Yeah. One band.
Yeah. Can we get 2? Can we get 2 apiece?
Nope.
I know.
Nope. Welcome to hell.
One.
You get one choice in hell, and that's what band you get to listen to while you toil for all eternity.
No. Give me I got it. I just got to think.
I choose Sid Barrett.
I would listen to probably the Rolling Stones. Honestly, they're not my favorite band.
You get two.
Do I?
You get
No.
two.
No, I said you get the one. That's it. You're toiling for all eternity to one band. You get to choose the band at least.
You learn a lot more about
That's what hell gets when you hire a general
Okay.
manager.
I'll indulge the guest. Dom. You get two. You get a 2-band playlist for all eternity.
That's just a handicap here. No, but
good God, if you go Pantera, I'm gonna hurt you.
Great, but not gonna be my favorite. No metal band as much metal as awesome is gonna be my favorite band. Because I would pick Beethoven the band first,
right?
But that's he had how many keys? That's a band, right?
That's a lot.
He picked
A bunch of entities together. All right.
I'm kidding.
Go ahead.
No, for real though. The Rolling Stones, they tell some stories, and they, like Don was saying, I really appreciate that, brother. Yeah. They tell some stories that people can tell their own stories too.
Yeah.
There's a theme to them, there's a story to them, but you can relate in your own way without it meaning a thing or meaning one thing or two things or whatever. It's open.
Someone else wrote it, but I feel it more than they do, kind of.
There you go.
Well,
that's great.
What would be your secondary there, Zach?
Well, that is a great question, Chris, and I'm going to go ahead and answer it quickly and take away any other pain. It's just going to be
Take away the pain.
It's going to be a little Pink Floyd because there are very few who with such minimal gear and musicians in one place, and granted, they bring some space, some weight, some thought, and some introspection. They put themselves on the line with you. So again, it's back to kind of storytelling or being finding some compromise in the human experience. Anyway, let's move on over to Dom.
Yeah. Let's move over to Dom, and then after the band, we'll go around with us. Dom, go ahead. Dom seems to me like Cranberries would be in there somewhere, but
I saw them real early.
I saw them in the '90s in Deep Ellum. So
That's cool.
Fuck yeah. Cranberries, Radiohead, and Garbage. I saw them at 9:30 Club. A young team.
I want to see Cranberries.
So Dom, go ahead. Your two bands to toil in hell to all eternity to.
Go. Pink Floyd was my first option, but Zach already took it, so I'll go with my second two options. And I'll say the Beatles and Tool.
All right. Solid choices.
Really? Okay.
I could hear that random shuffle going on.
I go back and hear that random shuffle every time I drive in the car with Dom.
We call that sweet. We call it sweet and sour, right?
Yeah.
I'm from the south, and I'm from the south, and that's sweet and sour. You get the Beatles, and you get the Tool.
Imagine a Tool version of she came in through the bathroom window.
Yeah.
Well, that would be the most dark thing in the world.
And play acoustic guitar that it sounds like the Beatles, so it's pretty close.
I know.
I like percussive music. I like music that will kick your ass, and I also like music that's pretty and beautiful. One of my favorite songwriters is a man named Andrew Bird. His music is very pretty, very elegant, and very cool and soothing, but also kind of deep. But when it comes down to the percussive, it's like a music that just kind of kicks your ass. Tool is definitely up there.
Absolutely.
Sure. If it was going to be Pink Floyd and Tool, but since he called that one out, I'll go with the Beatles.
Don't ever let somebody else help you make up your mind, my friend. All right, don't let somebody else rent the free space in your head.
You like something and just not liking the other, and now
you be the beautiful you that you are, Dom.
Favorite fans. Jokes on us.
We'll hold the phone.
If you speak
Jesse's
hold on. Dom, what's the concert you would least like to be at during New Year's? Just a question.
Jesse's favorite band.
Hey, all right.
Segue.
Okay, and now we go to Jesse.
I'm not even going to pay attention to the rules. So I have probably 4 equally favorite bands.
Okay.
It's Head, Fish, the Disco Biscuits, Frank Zappa.
All right.
Bam. Boom.
All right.
Damn.
I
came out
I
with
appreciate
the sniper.
Zappa in there, dude, because that's some true jazz genius, amazing shit.
So Chris, make a big 2 out of the 4.
So Frank Zappa, probably Frank Zappa is the best band, the best musician that I've ever heard in my life, because Frank Zappa, he does exactly what I want to do in music, where he writes and composes, or he wrote and composed these incredibly complex arrangements, and then he puts lyrics on top of them. They're like, why do I hurt when I pee?
And don't you eat that yellow snow, dude? Like, even just listen to the arrangement of "Don't You Eat That Yellow Snow." It's like, hey, a dog peed there. Don't eat that snow. It's so beautifully arranged.
No, you can't fucking get any choices. Fucking Jesus helps those who help themselves.
Yeah, I
would love to get
unless you're a libtard, Jesse.
So Catholic schoolgirls? I mean, come on.
So Frank Zappa, you know how many people and how many conservative Christians, how many fucking just pearl clutching people in this country were turned off by the lyrics of his songs.
Dude,
and what they
just so you know, Roman Catholic seminarian. I'm pretty familiar with how many people were turned off.
I
like him a lot.
They told me I should be turned off, but I said fuck you, and I started a podcast. Hey, that's basically how it happened, right?
Yeah, that's it. No, here we are, 297. What episode are we on?
I saw the blink.
Go ahead, Jess.
For our next Lunar Eclectic clip.
Think of that population of people that were turned off by those words, that missed the beauty in those
exactly.
And that is the biggest joke, the biggest punchline. I would imagine in music is that, like, so many people were just turned off and like, oh fuck, this guy's I won't listen to this. But if you've got past it and listened to the music, it's the best music that's ever been written in the United States of America. So
you're talking Zappa.
And once again,
He's the best one that's ever been.
I'll give it like best in America.
Imagine we win 1,000 years from now without the world dying by flood, nukes, or like pure idiocy.
Good
right?
luck, bitch.
Like, all right, so let's just say like the last 1,000 years with this 1,000 years, right? Like Zappa was the classical composer and such a complex genius sense, but he happened to type like shit on top, right? Like
it was like the monkey keyboard,
right? Like just
like
to point out, like an entire section of humanity will miss this because they're too angrily ignorant for the simplest of mundane bullshit things that like we're all triggered by some shit. But he was one of very few people who I think could last like whatever our forever is. Like people won't find him again until later, and it'll come around. He's climate change.
He was definitely an Andy Warhol of music.
And I Have Been In You is actually a pretty solid composition.
You know what I fucking think? You know what I fucking think?
Not
Sid Barrett.
Could be.
Sid Barrett had a bike.
He could ride it if he liked.
Yeah, exactly. He gave it to Zappa. Made a fucking song out of it.
It had a bell that rings.
He didn't ride it.
Thing that makes it look good. You know?
Yeah.
He'd give it to you if he could. But he wrote it.
You watch on like old talk show material where it's just like you can feel people grinding their teeth in awkward, like just pure judgment. Like, what are you doing over there? Like you're about to play a bicycle, they're laughing at him the whole time, and he's just the whole time. He gets that they're laughing. At the same time, he's like, I still want to explain this experiment to you because you'll appreciate it. He doesn't really care.
And not just that, but the importance of Frank Zappa to the scene was shown straight up in like everyday like radio music with Smoke on the Water. You know, where they're talking about going to record at like Frank Zappa's club that got burned down because some dude like got drunk and shot off a freaking flare gun and literally burned the place to the ground. You know,
Cat's Crack Fever is the same fucking song as Smoke on the Water.
Pretty much. Pretty much. I like that. Can't Smoke on the Water. And on that note, Julie, let's go into your two bands
I think I'm gonna pull a liberal privilege too and list more than 2.
Yeah.
That's just called being alive.
Are you from the coast too?
I'm from the coast.
Oh, you coastal elite.
So for just like purely you can listen to it without ever getting tired of it. So if you're like stuck on a desert island, I would say Fish. Music that I've seen like a cajillion times in concert that like you can just kind of forget about things and be dumb and just appreciate. I would say U2 for just like the singability and musicality. I would say the Cranberries, and then just because it's near and dear to my heart, I love Charlie Mars.
How the hell did we end up with 4 pieces?
I don't know, man. I don't know. She's a lady. We give her special permissions on the show.
Because he rippled all the way through.
Just for putting up with the title of dude.
Sorry.
My original 4 would have been Tool, Pink Floyd, Daft Punk, and Andrew Bird.
Damn, that's insane. Okay.
That's my top 4.
Good ones though. Yeah.
I'm the guy who stands out. I'm like, I'm the guy.
Daft Punk.
This guy likes heavy metal, man.
I'm a simple man. I am an utterly simple man, and I will admit the fact. I
already know Floyd.
And you could probably ask my wife if there was one band that I would listen to all day, every day for the rest of my life, it would be Pink Floyd.
Yes,
hands down. Like she's asked me numerous times because I have them on a playlist even right here.
Do you
on
have
my
a
computer.
preference of before Sid or after or anything like that?
Quite honestly, I love Gilmore Floyd. But I mean like post Roger Waters Floyd. I can see him.
Yeah. With Gilmore is what,
But you know what? Enjoy
like their last. To me, it was the fact of like going to see Division Bell live in 1994.
Shit, dude. That was because I wasn't.
I spent a month on probation in the seminary.
I was around somewhere
to go see Pink Floyd. I spent a month on probation.
Was a momentary lapse of reading. Was the tour for that?
No, that was the Division Bell tour in '94.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Awesome.
I got kicked out of '94. So I'm going to a Jimmy Buffett concert.
Cheeseburger with carrot. Like my mushroom fries.
Chris, I just had to add to the list. Mark Knopfler also.
Man, Dire Straits.
Arms like the subtlety and power in so few notes.
Well,
I just had to stick it in for your pleasure there.
Give you a free Jimmy Buffett.
As we talk about people like Mark Knopfler specifically,
Jimmy Buffett. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you out there.
No, we're all.
I like my bus.
Everybody separate into two.
Sorry.
As we talk about people like Mark Knopfler specifically, the musicality of him, the way that he moves between pieces of songs.
You're getting choppy there, Chris.
Let's talk a little bit about the instrumental part of Hart as we go into that.
Sure.
What is it that takes us from the verse, chorus, the standard structure, into the instrumental jam part of this song that we're about to listen to?
Well, it's like picture an egg, and instead of yolk, it's like full of vibrations, right? Like different sounds, different vibrations. And you just, when you throw it on the ground, what the fuck do you think is going to happen, right? You're not quite sure.
Soft,
you know it's going to break.
An egg.
The soft, elegant egg.
That beautiful.
And then
look, I'm a vegetarian and I'm not much into smashing eggs, but I'm just saying, like,
you got a whole different ending over there, right?
Theoretically, picture this. When it hits the ground, all that compression, all that tension,
it's a fucking mess.
Breaks out in its own way. You can't control that shit.
Hey,
So
you guys, somebody
yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
All right.
The way that pans out literally is
let's go to the tape.
like
On that note, ladies and gentlemen,
listener styles, we're like, you know what? It'll be really tight if we just completely just busting one right here. All of us sat around. We're like, yeah, we're gonna tear this song apart at the very moment. Literally, it literally transitions to that moment. You sit there and you're like, hey, this is great. This has been fun. Blah blah blah. This and that. This song's good. And what we do next? We shit on it right now.
On that note, Dom, let's listen to the egg-smashing vegetarian jam that is the instrumental part of Hart.
That might be a thing at the next show.
Oh yeah, they playing it now. Cheers, Chris.
And that is the instrumental jam that is Lunar Eclectic with the jam part of Hart. Now, as I said before, that is one falafel frying piece of vegetarian art.
A lot of colors in that vegetable table.
There is. There's a lot of jam in that. There's a lot of solo on everybody's part. What does it take for y'all to be able to actually direct that and direct each other while that goes on stage?
So it's interesting to we just look at each other's faces,
gaze at each other's eyes.
That's right. Yeah, there's a lot of
now in your face.
If we could name our band again, it would be the male gaze.
We have a lot of naked chicks dancing around.
We all, and naked dudes and whoever. It's 2018. Things are very fluid now. But we all,
people. That's true.
Like when we start those improv sections, no one's looking at each other, and we all just are doing our own thing. And then like eventually we will click into this one rhythm, and everyone will look up at the same time. And that's what I've loved throughout my life. That's what I've loved about playing improvisational music is because as a band on stage, you are a mirror, right? And so you're a mirror, and this inspiration, this energy is coming down from the cosmos.
Yeah.
And you are absorbing it, and in the most inspired moments, you are turning the mirror, you're tilting the mirror down towards the audience.
The best you can do is be a channel for what's going on.
Yeah, and we're channeling. The music's there. Even if we weren't there, the music would be there.
Yeah.
We're just channeling down and
wouldn't have the same translator.
Projecting it into the audience.
Floating around.
And it's the best. Absolutely. It's the best feeling. And like sometimes we won't even be looking at each other for minutes and minutes. And then everyone will play the same riff at the same time, and we all look up. Yeah, we all are just like we lock in.
Yeah.
And we're like, whoa, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, that's simple thing.
That's when the mirror tilts.
Yeah.
That's when the mirror tilts, and we project that universal energy into the crowd.
Yeah.
And come to the Carousel Lounge. Come to the Carousel Lounge Thursday.
I want
Thursday
to.
night.
What day is that again?
It's Thursday night.
25th, like 2 days from now.
The 25th.
What day?
48 hours from right now.
$5 to get in. It's going to be some of the best jam music that you've heard in a long time.
We're playing. Our keyboardist Jack. He has another band. He has another more different band. And Thursday. And we're all
got the whole seat, but you only need the edge.
Dennis Anderson and Graves.
Holy shit!
Welcome to the carousel.
You are so
All right. Yeah, no. If you guys want to hear
Our cartoon's not
Austin,
out yet,
Texas's #1 most slept on, underrated band coming up in the scene. We've been doing this for
Slept on.
If you want to hear the most slept on, underrated band in Austin, Texas, come out to the Carousel Lounge on Thursday. 2 days from tonight. We're going to be hitting it roughly 48 hours from right now.
How about that? What time?
How about 9:30?
How about 9:30?
You're like, how about 9:30?
It's our show. We don't night we choose, but I'm thinking 9:30 sounds
That's like a good time.
5 American dollars.
Come out early and check out MC's Unknown. 7 to 9, they kick ass. That's actually Jack, keyboards and guitar in Lunar Eclectic, is playing a double set, dude. He's a fucking champion.
Actually, this guitar is
so
Jack Barbie. Yeah, Jack Barbie. B-A-R-B. Check him out. He's
Barbie.
come early. I hear the booze is cheaper. In case you get there early.
Muscle Man Randy Savage.
discounted.
Yes, discounted posters. There might be some dudes and beer swag for our
Dudes and beers.
All right.
Could there be?
Glasses.
Oh, we might.
Down with that. I'm down with that.
The ladies.
Swag for the ladies.
As we get ready to go out, guys, I'd like to talk with y'all for a minute about the concept of synergy, and like we said, that unspoken talk that happens, that literal mental interweb that exists between people, where when you walk into a room, like, hey, I don't belong here, like this needs to go. Like, this is not where I need to be. Or when you're in the middle of a song where like, this is exactly where I need to be. This is exactly where we need to be with each other. How does that go? I mean, of course, that comes along through a huge, insane level of trust. Like beyond trust falls in like group therapy trust. Because when you fall on stage, you all fall together and the audience falls with you. So how do you get past that to get to the point of true creation, to get to the point of true mobility, to get to the point of actuating what you actually hear in your head? Because what you hear in your head is so oftentimes different than what you've written.
I think that the cool thing about this show is that there isn't a single person that's going to walk inside that room that has a particular viewpoint or a biased suggestion about the type of music that they like, that they're not going to get an opportunity to experience. So you're going to get, a bunch of people inside a room together. They're going to witness the show in a couple of days. They're going to see people play music, right? And they're going to see people play music that they don't like. They're going to see they're going to see a couple of guys that play music that they're in love with. And that variance, the difference in the scale between where some people aren't exactly the biggest fans of, all the way until they are the greatest fans of. That entire depth in itself is what we're looking to accomplish and what we're going to do when we go up on there. So you aren't going to be able to go there and be like, I cannot pick out a specific point of that night where I can't say that made me feel like awesome. It was like, that was the moment. That there was this, regardless of what you like, what your preferences, what you like to listen to, or what kind of show you're looking for out of the music that we play, it doesn't have the spectrum that's like so far out of one range to another where you'll feel uncomfortable. Yeah. Everything stays with inside this variance where we have this small amount, and all we do is vacate to one side to the other, and we balance between those two elements. You're going to walk into that place and you're going to hear things you haven't heard. You're going to hear things you have heard and you love. And then on top of that, you're going to hear things that you have not listened to. And you're going to love that as well.
Fantastic.
Because it's going to be, it'll be interesting. It'll be kind of.
I need to call off work
It'll be nothing that
I've already called off work for the next day.
I'm the most critical. I'm the most critical person in this band. I'll say this right now. I'm the most critical person in this band. I'm probably the most critical person in real life out of the group of us. And I'm not very friendly about things. I'm not very friendly about things, and I'll come right in. If there wasn't something I didn't like, or there wasn't something I wouldn't approve of, I'm probably the most vocal and critical and cynical person out of all of us. And the most blunt out of all of us in this band.
The oneness.
And I think that at this, I'm pretty blunt about a lot of things. Let's just say that.
Well, and can I just say one thing? And it's the fact that I love your brain and the way it works, Dom Turturelli. It's literally one of those things that, you know, it does take somebody of passion. It does take a group of people. Like I said, band, just to go back to the beginning of this episode, the term band is a group of people on a journey or a quest together, somebody that is unified for a specific purpose. That's a band.
Absolutely.
And it goes beyond music. It goes beyond philosophy. It goes beyond life. It goes literally into how we connect together as people. And that's what I love about the music that you guys are creating, the stuff that you guys are doing. One last time before we end the episode,
we're doing right now.
Go ahead.
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
No. Go.
I was going to say, I think one important thing about the essence of what we do is, from my viewpoint, it doesn't have to be anybody else's particularly. I'll single myself on this one. The music is badass. It is, and whether or not these guys like to admit it or they don't,
it is.
It is. And as much as I'd like to say, like, the modesty is a key ingredient to this. And as far as success goes, it's always pleasant to say that, oh, thank you very much, but I'm not gonna. No. This music is badass. It's 100% badass. If you want to come and you want to see badass music, whether it's from one spectrum of what you like, whether it's one spectrum of what somebody else likes, you have a whole group of people that are going to get a very wide array of badass music that they feel necessarily is awesome to themselves.
Like I said, Dom, I love your brain. I love the way it works because I myself have told many bands that I worked with. I've told Steven, good God, for the past couple years about Dudes and Beer. It's about believing.
He sounds awesome.
It's about believing in who you are. It's about believing in who you are as a person, about what you're doing, and about why you're doing it. And as long as that's in place, like, the universe will not deny you.
Yeah.
It just won't.
I'm not
happen.
saying I'm badass. I'm saying this group of guys that I play with in a band with are badass.
That's just it. Exactly. You're sacrificing yourself.
Nothing to do with any of that.
Making it about the
slaps, drums. The rest of them, they're badass. Their music is fantastic.
Well, and
are different on 2
days. Thursday night, come out, some badass.
Thursday, 7 to
One last time around the table. Let's introduce ourselves, what we play, and who everybody will see and meet this Thursday night, January 25th at Carousel Lounge, 7 p.m. to midnight. $5 cover. You can't beat that for original music, folks. I mean, sincerely, if it's an hour-long show, let's just put this simply, okay? Stop. Let's do some real quick beer math. Let's do some real quick drug math here, all right? $5.
We've had a lot of beer
into an hour.
Lincoln.
That's 12. I mean, come on, that's $1.20.
If you pay an extra $5, I posted it.
Alex is on the
12 in beer.
And guaranteed you're going to get more than 1 hour of music out of these guys. So
You're not
more than $5 that you're getting.
American stuff.
I ride the horse in carousel.
So one last time.
You're getting not only more than an hour of music, you're getting more music than I even want to play.
And you're getting
you get 2 hours of the shit, and it's going to be awesome.
Well, tell everybody, number one, once again, where they can come to see you this Thursday, as well as where they can go to find your music online.
Yes.
Easy.
Not all of our listeners live in Austin.
Oh, well.
All right, so this Thursday, January 25th, the doors open at 7. Jack's group, MCs Unknown, are going to start off at 7 to about 9:30, and then we're going to take the stage from that point on. It's at the Carousel Lounge. It's in Austin, North Austin, on 51st and 35. That is where the show will be at.
Yeah, I pretty much know where that place is.
If you want to mess with the band situation itself, you want to go and check us out, see some videos, look at our page, this and that, you can go directly to our Facebook page. It's Lunar Eclectic. That is the name of the band. And we also have recently booked another show in Austin. It's on March 3rd. Ooh, so if you have anything else, you just keep in contact with us. We're pushing. We're trying to do things. We're trying to make it, get as much music out as we possibly can. But this Thursday, if you want to see some awesome shit, make sure you come out. 2 days from now, we'll probably go on about 9:30.
I booked it.
And that awesome shit
That's just it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget that when you come out to see Lunar Eclectic, it is not coming out to see a band. It is coming out to be part of an event. It's something totally different. It's not the average band that has 30 minutes of rehearsed music and they're done. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we got. It's going to be an actual musical event. It's going to be something that is changing what we believe to be music nowadays. I've been a fan of jam bands since I first heard them when I was about 17, and I'm 42 now. I've been listening to stuff for quite a while, and I've been listening to jam bands almost as long as Jesse's been in the Eagles. But
how do you feel about 12/7/97?
It's a 19th string. They got like a minivan, a Dodge Caravan in the back,
right
down there. Number 19 in case all the other 18 fall off the mast.
Deal with those facts.
Jupiter Moriarty, ladies.
Hey, real quick, Chris. Can I say one more thing, please, about the show? Well, about us, but about the show.
Sure.
If you're having a tough time, or if you're lost, or if you don't know what the fuck you're doing, or if you know what the fuck you're doing, but you just need a little pick me up, or if you need a little pick me down, or whatever you need.
No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
I don't know what you said, but I'm into it. All good. Come out to the show like you'll find a friend. You will find some peace. You will find some rage, like whatever you need to find. Come out and be a part of it, because we're not judging. Like we're perfectionists on ourselves, and it's a struggle. But it's walking the struggle.
I could not agree with you more. If there is no better therapy than music, and especially when it comes to jam bands, experimental music, people that are putting themselves out there, there is nothing more opening to you as a person than to see somebody step out on that ledge. It's one thing to see somebody who's quite obviously rehearsed something over and over and over. It's another thing to see somebody step out on that ledge regularly. And that's just it. That's why I said, whenever you come out to see these guys, it's not a show. It's an experience. It's something different. It's not just a rehearsed piece of music that somebody said, let's see how we can get the best 3.5 minutes possible.
I'd like to reiterate my joke real fast.
Do we
for listeners? That was the fucking joke.
We don't need to.
Reiterate on top of that.
On that note, once again, everybody, this Thursday, January. Oh no! For somehow or another, Steve-O just got muted. I don't know how that happened. We totally lost Steven's microphone connection. I don't know how that happened at all. And now you're back, Steve. But
Sorry, can we delete that last one?
I am an evil man. I hold the powers of God in my hand.
Love Lunar
So,
Eclectic.
on that note, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure to go out, follow the band Lunar Eclectic on Facebook. Go check them out on social media. Check out their videos. Check out their new stuff that's going to be coming out here in a few months. This Thursday, the 25th, check them out at Carousel Lounge from 7 p.m. to midnight. $5 cover. Amazing for this kind of talent and show. Once again, guys, thank you so much for coming into the studio. It was great to meet y'all. I can't wait to meet y'all in person someday. Until next time, everybody, remember, if you can't be good at it. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Hold on right there, guys. We'll be right back at you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Dudes and Beer Podcast. To listen to our audio streams and chat with us live, download the official Dudes and Beer app for both Android and iDevices, available on the Google Play and iTunes markets. For more episodes, content, and information, visit us online at dudesandbeer.com. You can also find our episodes on Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast service. Thanks for listening, everybody, and until next time, drink responsibly.